Hey!
Sounds like a familiar tune.
Familiar pain in the arm.
That's right.
How are you?
Where should I leave this?
Just right there in the corner, or wherever you wish. Just,
Yeah, there in 6/8. Okay, and right as you slip into this,
yes.
nobody's playing under this bar. So you can
Take a little time.
You can take time, so you just sort of slide into that almost different sensibility. A moment
Yeah.
while you'll be going bop-a-da-brr, bop-a-da-brr.
Right.
God.
Right.
I'm
So
not
old
doing
fashioned. No, so that's what I mean. It's like in some ways it's a fresh concerto. You know?
Yeah.
Even the John Adams violin concerto has
Yeah.
similar aspects. You know. And what I also like about this is that I'm oftentimes accompanying, so I'm just kind of like a part of the tapestry. Which is
Right.
kind of cool.
Because this is air, and everything underneath it is really delicate and light. There's almost an emptiness under that. They're just going. Almost medieval.
Makes me think that it's not about being super slow. It's about being a lot of like air.
Yeah.
Like I was in my bow enough, and so sort of skimming the string a little bit. You know. I'm wondering. Sometimes it seems like the 16s could slur in.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you could take.
So here I was going like this. Instead of going.
Yeah, take one bow.
Anyway, so that was a lot of fun, I thought, just to be able to go through both pieces with you. You know, so the viola concerto as a genre is a tricky thing, you know. What did you find unusual or challenging about writing a concerto for me?
Oh, well, first of all, I love the viola.
Yeah.
So there's something about
What a coincidence.
Yeah, I know, isn't it funny? But there's something about that middle range. So you know, I've written a string quartet, but with two violas. The heck with those two violins; they get it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's that middle range
Nice.
that's just luscious
Nice.
and warm and
Yeah.
and beautiful. The hard part is not having it sound masked by the rest of the string orchestra.
Right.
With a violin, you just don't have that problem. It's on
Right.
top of everybody,
Right.
and it comes through. The violas can get buried in the middle.
Depending
So
on the viola.
Right, but I had to think about that
Yeah.
all through writing the
Yeah.
piece. It just
Well, I love, you know, when we did this a few years ago up in Massachusetts, I think it was.
Yeah.
Or,
North Shore.
North Shore. And I thought the balance was really successful. I like what you did. Of course, I was using a much larger viola. This is more of really a soloist viola. It's a lot brighter, and it projects like crazy. So I think
Right.
it will not have any problem being
being heard by, yeah.
but more than that, I think it will really lend itself to the style of music that your piece is. How would you describe your style of writing, if you can?
Oh, that's a good question, I guess. My music is, let me start again. Sometimes I think that I was born about 400 or 500 years too late.
Okay.
Because my favorite music is early music.
Okay.
The kind of modal,
Yes.
vocal,
Like Devere and.
like Machaut,
Oh yeah.
Dufay,
Yeah.
where in different lines, different rhythmic things are sort of happening and overlapping, and it just sort of flows
Right.
like a river.
Right.
I love that sound. And so, well, I don't think you listen to my music and somebody immediately thinks of Machaut. At the same time, those kind of techniques, I wind up writing a lot,
Yeah.
trying to achieve the same thing,
Mm-hmm,
and those kind of modal sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So the harmonies tend to be modal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking major minor,
Mhm.
and it tends to be melodic modal. And,
Yeah.
and the other influence is folk songs,
Sure.
like Appalachian folk songs, and I think you could probably hear some of that.
Well, the two
So there's some parts where
Civil
you
War
sound like
songs.
you're fiddling, you know. And
Yeah,
that's
I
the
sure
sound
do
that
feel
I
like-
have to- yeah.
Yeah, Renaissance fiddling.
Yeah.
That's Actually, I'm doing the Schwanendreher by Hindemith, his
Mhm.
viola concerto, and it also is, I think, a real nod to the Renaissance era, and it has some definite fiddle bow strokes. But your final movement is very exciting, and very challenging. But and so, what was the inspiration for the four elements? Obviously, earth, wind, fire, and the Commodores. I mean, no. But I mean, what motivated you to want to have that be the
So-
subject matter?
If I look over the body of my work, there are a couple of things that are of particular interest to me,
Mm-hmm.
my personal take on life or whatever. One is, I have this whole Music for Peace project.
Okay.
That's a theme that runs through a lot of pieces, where
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's from being in peace marches in the 1960s
Mhm.
among hundreds of thousands,
Sure.
and actually thought we'd get somewhere instead of where we are today. So that's a preoccupation of mine.
Yeah.
And the other is I'm a physics junkie.
Okay.
I'd rather be reading Brian Greene than anything else, just about quarks and physics and
Okay.
space, and trying to understand what I can of Einstein.
Yeah.
And so the idea of trying to portray something about that physical aspect of life in music has always been interesting to me. So I have a few pieces like that, and
Yeah.
this is one, because what did the Greeks think all of this was? What did they know about, well, Democritus knew about atoms. He had a good guess way back then,
Okay.
that everything was atomic in nature.
Mhm.
But, what they thought everything was made of was earth, wind, fire, and water.
Mhm.
That was it. And they combined in a myriad of ways to become everything we know and see.
Yeah.
So that idea always I found appealing.
Well, I'm glad that the viola concerto is the four elements, because I think it's the greatest instrument in the world,
That's right.
and it takes all of the elements to put into a concerto, I think, to really do it justice. So.
And in that particular piece, it also, when I write, a lot of times I really think about, it helps to have just an image in my mind.
Sure.
And this was great, because earth, you thought of just trees and hills
Right.
and valleys and mountains and hard stuff.
Hard
And air was more just this ethereal something. Water, obviously.
when I was working on Earth, I was thinking prehistoric. I was thinking
Yeah.
tectonic plates and
Yeah.
how like clay and things move slower.
Right.
And so for me, every movement was motion relative,
Right.
which perhaps wasn't completely what you were thinking, but I really like how molecules go at different speeds depending on the
Right.
density
Right,
of the
right.
of the substance, and so I was kind of feeling like all of the notes I was playing were like little atoms, and they would go slower if it was dun dun dun,
Yeah,
but it's
right,
dun, 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 it's fast, going through waters.
Yeah. And then in fire, of course, fire is this, you know, it can be multiple things. It can be this intense burning,
Right.
but it's also like
Smoldering.
Loki and, you know, this mysterious world of,
Yes, yes.
and I experimented in that because I have this peculiar theory about perfect fourths
Uh-huh.
because of the way the overtone series works.
Mhm.
That the overtones support one another at a sort of lower register than a perfect fifth does, or an octave, because that's first an
Mhm.
octave higher, whereas
Mhm.
with the fourth, from that, like let's say a low D to the D above it, and you have the G and the G and the D
Mhm.
above it, it creates more overtones.
Mhm.
So I always thought that in early music, why they always sang in parallel fourths like an organum, was because they were trying to reproduce those overtones, which create a very mysterious sound, like in overtone singing,
Mhm. Mhm.
like Tibetan monks.
Yeah.
So while you're being the fiery substance above, I've got the cellos and basses and these grinding fourths underneath to create as much overtone cloud as I can
Yeah.
while you're playing your music.
Well, it's of all of the concertos that I've premiered, it's one of the most unusual in its sense of sound and color and concept. So, and it's also one of my favorites because I always enjoy working on a piece with the composer present, and because we live relatively close by, it was something that we could work on together. So
Right.
to now take it to not its final stage, but the next stage, get it recorded with a really good ensemble, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, the ultimate goal is to get it performed more and more with me and with other violists.
That's why I'm doing a recording.
So I think
That's
it's
why
going
I'm
to be
doing it
great.
with you.
Well, I appreciate it. So thanks for
Yeah.
coming over, and
Yeah,
we'll
it's
get
great.
to work soon.
Good.
Okay.